Hello.
Sorry.
How's your cold?
Okay, let me have it. Okay.
You brought a lot of energy in that moment, Glenn. So
I was not prepared for that.
Okay, Rachel is coffee. Hello, I'm Glenn Kubish. This is a reVerb communications podcast we call The Message Gets Through. It's a bi-weekly-ish gathering of some of my crack colleagues here at reVerb, where we talk about messages that made their mark, communications that got through the noise and hit their target. It can be anything. This week, it's CEO Quinn on
Mac Bauer, the 514 runner, and corporate messaging, AI in the Uncanny Valley.
We may have time for Director of Business Development, Rachel Ray on.
Second screen viewing.
And I'm going to talk about a new sandwich at Farrow. Rachel, kick us off.
We clearly know how I spend my downtime on TikTok, but I was scrolling through and I saw a video from Jameela Jamil, who, if you're not familiar, was a lovely actress on a show called The Good Place. So when I saw her on screen, I thought maybe she's talking about her next project, but that's not what the clip was about. On this clip, she was talking about second screen viewing, which is this concept that everyone tends to be watching shows or watching movies while also having literally a second screen in their hand. And so writers are being forced to dumb down scripts so that people can follow along in very simplistic plots because they have so many things that are competing. And if it's a complicated plot, they're not going to be able to keep up with the storyline on the show whilst they're actually, playing Candy Crush on their phone. So there's a... Just saying.
That's terrible.
But it got through to me because if I'm being truthful, I was probably doing that very thing. I'm assuming whilst I saw it, I probably had something on in the background, and it got through because it was cutting to me as a person and cutting to what's going on in society.
Was it captioned?
It was captioned. Yeah, it was captioned. That's an interesting point on there because, again, when we're doing so many other things, I'm often looking through and I do read the captions because there's probably other things going on in the background. So, again, to feed all of the senses, I think I was reading the caption on it.
I'm curious what percentage of shows or writing or whatever start to obey this maxim.
Was Jameela talking to the camera? Was she being interviewed?
She was being interviewed on this, and it was an interesting interview where I think the interviewer had a very similar reaction that I had while I was watching it. Please don't tell me that this is what's happening, because I think we all inherently realize that this is what's happening, but we don't want to believe.
So did you feel yourself hooked at that point?
I think so.
When the interviewer was expressing some horror?
Hooked, condemned, chastised. I felt all of it.
We know neurologically people are nowhere near as good at multitasking as they believe they are. It's very hard for the message to get through if you have a second set of messages that are basically actively interfering with that message. I walk into meetings regularly now where every single person in that meeting is sitting with a laptop open in front of them and very often a cell phone. So it isn't even just second screen. Yeah. It's a tertiary kind of setup.
So are you seeing any evidence of meetings being conducted differently akin to what Rachel is bringing to our attention
a lot of them
today?
Are just awful today. Yeah. I think.
Are people adapting? Are people who are running meetings adapting to the knowledge that the people are not perhaps engaged fully?
The biggest thing that I saw was the COVID era. 2-3 months in, there was a lot of burnout, I think, already from the screens, and everyone just started turning their screens off. And as a presenter, I would be there for an hour talking to myself, hoping that people were still on the other end, because I literally had no idea if my technology had failed. So what I've seen since then is a lot more people doing questions in the side chats, people having to actually engage, and requirements for screens to be on so you could actually see that someone was paying attention to it. It was horrific as a presenter to present to people that you're assuming are not paying attention.
Okay, chapter 2 is yours, Quinn. What message got through and what can communicators learn?
I was reading a CBC article the other day on the Finch LRT, and there is a gentleman named Mac Bauer, or the 514 runner, out in Toronto. And he, for the past year, has regularly raced transit in Toronto to see if he can beat it to its destination.
Race
By
time?
race, I mean by
Race time.
foot.
By
So
foot.
Okay.
he is running. And so he recently raced the Finch LRT and he beat it to its destination by a good 18 minutes. I'm not sure about the exact outcome of who decided what in terms of responding to this or responding to just general kind of public comments. But there was a comment, and I'm going to read it to you guys. It was, the TTC, Metrolinx, and the city are all committed and working together to speed up trip times through various initiatives like transit signal priority, as well as capitalizing on the experience and lessons learned during the soft opening phase. Here's what does interest me about this is the contrast between Mac Bauer doing something, how media picks it up as an interest story, the human angle, the realism of it, and then that set, rote, corporate spokesperson, dead-eyed sort of messaging that doesn't really convey anything back, doesn't give you an impression of people or caring or any of that kind of stuff. And why it's got me so particularly interested is I've recently been having a few issues with my bank, and so I've been dealing with AI chatbots. And these bots are getting better and better at sounding like actual humans, asking appropriate questions, doing logical sort of follow-up, and at all this while delivering the kind of corporate messaging that whatever entity is paying for them wants to deliver. And like AI now compared to AI a few years ago with images, are that the uncanny valley is rapidly disappearing. So when AI images sort of first came out, you could look at it and be like, that seems off, or this thing, or there's 6 fingers, or the wording on this sign is clearly not a real language. And you'd be like, something about this is bugging my brain.
Yeah.
And you have what you call the uncanny valley effect, which is the seems almost real, but it's not quite there. And so it's even more disturbing or more disconcerting to us because it doesn't quite reach that threshold. That threshold is rapidly disappearing on the AI side of things. And I find the contrast interesting because as that disappears and rapidly becomes persuasive human language, we continue after years and years and years to deliver this rote corporate messaging that doesn't sound anything like human language.
Can you read the first part of that response again?
The TTC, Metrolinx, and the city are all committed and working together to speed up trip times,
What it doesn't include is any acknowledgement
No.
Yeah.
of what it's responding to. The effort to do the race, the outcome of the race. So for me, the lack of an acknowledgement of another person in this interview space or in this conversation space, the lack of that is noticeable.
There's an effective message, I believe, there that could be delivered that says, this is a new system. Like, we're still working out some kinks. We're still working out some bugs. This takes a bit of time. This is a huge, complex project, and expecting everything to be perfect on day one just isn't realistic, guys. And we've seen examples of this messaging. There's a very famous one a number of years ago with the Bay Area Rapid Transit in San Francisco, where on the social media account, somebody was complaining about cleanliness of the trains. And for whatever reason, one of their social media people got loose, as I like to say it, and said, do you know how many trains we have to clean in a day? And there was a whole conversation that evolved out of that that was just beautiful because in a previous episode, Rachel mentioned being able to peek behind the curtain, or at least implied being peeking behind the curtain with messaging. That resonates almost instantly with people. As
You
soon as
still
they
remember
feel,
that?
Oh yeah, as soon as you feel that you're engaging with me and my concerns as a human, and you're showing me something I don't know or that I'm curious in, I think there's a natural human curiosity that takes over. And it's like, well, tell me about this. I'm kind of interested now. Like, maybe I'll suspend my judgment or I'll suspend my attitude or emotions for the period of time that I can make a
Stop the
judgment.
knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, exactly. It takes people out of themselves, maybe in a certain thing, or at least it causes them to reconsider or re-engage with you on a common level. And I think what messaging like that happened from these organizations says is basically, we don't really want to tell you anything. We're not serious about talking to you.
It reminds me of one of two things, either some sort of a matrix or a Rolodex of These are our canvas.
Our younger viewers can Google
Yes, please.
Rolodex.
Google Rolodex.
Some of them can Google Matrix at this point as well. So.
Oh my god! But you have these canned responses, and I think because I'm a big nerd and I used to do debate, and so when we were preparing for a debate, you would think through what are all the potential kind of holes in your argument, and at that point in time, we literally had these nice little recipe cards, and we would write if someone had this argument, I have a canned response that's ready to go for every situation combination because I know where all the pitfalls are, and that is what this is reminiscent of. I think if people organizations have the ability to be a little bit self-deprecating.
Aren't careers ended though for people who take a chance like that?
There's too much fear of that. There's too much fear of going back to clients and saying, let's do something that resonates a little bit.
I love going to Farrow for lunch when I can on Jasper Ave. And I was in recently, and there was a new sandwich creation on the chalkboard. So dig it. Roasted pork loin, pineapples, sesame red peppers, sweet soy mayo, sweet and sour sauce, and arugula. Okay, but check out the name that they gave it.
Okay.
Porcupine. Porcupine. Porcupine.
I love it.
I thought that was brilliant. I stood there and I exclaimed, "Whoa, that's good." So I talked to Buddy behind the counter and asked him about the process. Like, how'd you guys come up with the name of this? He says that, there's a group of employees who sit around and brainstorm and try to come up with names. The bosses have a veto over the names of their products, but for the most part, the names come from the people who are making and serving your sandwich. And I thought, why in all of the history of pork and pineapple being combined did no one think of porcupine? This does not solve, the big issues of our time, but that name gave me, it was a little bit of wow. It was a special effort to make them smile and then make me smile. I put it into ChatGPT for names, and I got back sticky pineapple pork loin.
Wow, sticks.
Sweet soy pineapple pork, or island roast pork sandwich. People don't expect a lot, perhaps. And so I got just a little more than that, and I reacted to it. So hats off.
Put that beside what we were just talking about with the very polished corporate statement.
Farrow's always had the latitude of being seen as kind of a more local indie business right from the start, right? But they tend to be fairly small, niche kind of locations, typically a fairly friendly young staff from my experience with that. And they've always, I think, had a certain playfulness to themselves and their names. So I'd say that's sort of part of their culture and their brand identity with their business. If you're a major shop with locations across Canada or something, I'm not sure that's quite as easy. I think part of what may have shocked or impressed you was just simply the pure linguistic wordplay on this one, right? Like they're just taking the ingredients, recombining it into the name and coming up with something quite clever.
It was a reminder that no matter how perhaps routine a communications request is or an attempt is, there's always a way to perhaps make it a little special. Okay, so thank you to Farrow. The message got through. Finch LRT, message got through. Jamil, the message got through. Thanks for being with us for this episode of The Message Gets Through, and thanks to all of you for joining as well. We'll see you soon.
Let's go for sandwiches.
Porcupine.
Oh,
I love that.